So I thought an appropriate topic today would be how to create inner peace and freedom. I think right now, more than at any other time in the world, with all the technology, with all the busyness that we're going on, everyone is always talking to me saying, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. And so we get these technological devices, phones. Our phones have more technology than the computers that put a man on the moon. Do you get that? More technology, and we want bigger and bigger and better phones. And what was fascinating, the other day I'm in the gym, and I'm on the elliptical, and I'm just going. And this woman walks in. She's a tiny woman. You could see she's probably 35, a mother. She seems athletic. She walks in. She's walking up the stairs. She finds the thing. She gets on that thing. She presses a button. She's just going. She never lifted her head out of her phone. How many people are doing that? How many people are so addicted to their phone that what are they doing? They're seeking outside to calm the inside. They're trying to, I'm going to be very candid here, they're distracting. They're literally in a state of distraction. Our busyness has become something where we are distracting ourselves because we don't want to face the life in front of us, which means we must slow down in order to find inner peace. Because that's what we're seeking. We're seeking inner peace. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is this is an action that you can begin right now that's very easy. Make the most of your day and do the best. So when you're creating your day, when you're getting up in the morning, what's on your to-do list? Have you consciously chosen it, or is it choosing you? It's a really good question to ask. Do you have on there daily spiritual practice? Do you have working out? Do you have eating healthy? Do you have time for yourself? Do you have your big things that you want done? You know, there are things in our lives that are big things we've got to want to get done, but we allow the social media and other people to distract us, and we get caught up in the small things, and we get so caught up in the small things, we think we've checked off all these small things. At the end of the day, we've accomplished nothing. Nothing, because it's the big things. Why the big things? Because the only reason we're here on the planet is to have an experience. Do you get that? It's not about having things. It's about having an experience. And if you're focusing on little things, you're going to have little baby experiences. I don't want baby experiences. I want big experiences. I want experiences that come and just wash over me and I get lost in the experience. I want to feel it at the core of my being. Every cell of my body, I want it to vibrate. And you realize what happens is when you absorb something in, no matter what you absorb, depending on your perspective, it is literally taken into the over 50 trillion cells in your body because every cell that you has intelligence in it. And so it's not like you just got to get rid of a thought that's in your mind. Every thought you have is also anchored in every cell of your body. Do you get that? So you're not just a brain, you have infinite intelligence flowing through you. So you make the most of what you're doing, but always, in the moment, do your best, as Don Miguel Ruiz says. No matter what the day is, in that day you may not be feeling well, but you're doing the best you can in that day. You may be doing something that you know when you get more education you can do better, but in that day, do the best you can. You don't have to worry about being up to someone else's standards. You've got to go to bed at night and say, was I the best me I could be today? And you're not judging against anyone else. Was I just a little bit better than I was yesterday? Isn't that an easy thing? Was I a little bit better? Gene, was I a little bit better yesterday than today? I was a whole lot better. I stepped out and learned some new things. Oh, did I learn some new things that I cannot talk about? Anyway, look at your minds. You're all very dirty and you're all going to hell. I'm telling you right now. All very dirty, all going to hell. And so are you. You have a dirty mind. Okay. The next thing is, this is real simple. We've got to learn to be flexible and open to change. Do you realize the only thing that's constant in this world is change? And we fight it. We build these beliefs and we think that our beliefs have to be everything. This is how it has to be. No. The second you believe it has to be a certain way, the universe is going to slap you upside the head over and over and over and over until you're flexible and you're open to see it differently. The thing about it is if you have a belief that you believe to the core of your being, and if the belief is anything other than you're one with the infinite, it's an opinion. It's an opinion. Everything that you believe in is right or wrong is an opinion. Because from the eyes of the infinite, there is no right or wrong. Because the infinite has nothing to judge against. Are you hearing that? The infinite means there's nothing other than it. If there's nothing other than it, you cannot compare against anything because there's nothing to compare of. It's only in the delusion of our egos that we see it. The way they say this in India is that your right eye represents a vision of the past. Your left eye visions a vision of the future. Your third eye does not see the past or the future, it's only in the now. So when you're seeing through the third eye, which is the eye of the divine, there's no judgment. If you're having judgment, realize you're not seeing through the third eye. You're not the observer. You're into ego with your preferences. Okay? Don't overreact to life's ups and downs. And this is where we get on the emotional roller coaster of life. And we start doing this thing. And a lot of people, it's like this. Over and over and over like this. And here's the greatest mantra that I will tell you. This is a simple mantra. It's an easy mantra. Remember, this too shall pass. If you really think about that mantra, everything in your life, all the things you were ever worried about before, they've passed. For those of you that are divorced, remember that ex-husband and the pain you were in when you were with him, or ex-wife when you were with her? They're no longer in your life. Guess what? They passed. In order for them to pass, what did you have to do? You had to release them. It's like a good bowel movement. You just release them out. It's an energetic release. I had to put it, you were too serious. I had to put it into a form that you could understand. And Elaine's over there saying, thank God I had that movement, you know? So it's don't overreact to life's ups and downs. It's also the most important condition for lasting inner peace is living in a state of equanimity and even-mindedness. I can remember being Vipassana. It was always, Goenka was always saying, equanimously, live equanimously. What does that mean? Live in the balance without judgment. Did you get that? And so the way they do that in Vipassana is you sit in meditation and you scan your body for every sensation and you observe it and you don't become attached to it and you keep scanning over and over and over again. And so in the course of Vipassana, you're sitting there in meditation 8 to 10 hours a day in meditation. When you're not in meditation, you're either eating where you're not talking to anyone, or you're in your room, I call it a cell, because it's like a monk cell or a nun cell, and you're in the cell and you're dealing with your mind, because there's no distractions, there's no books, there's no cell phones, there's nothing to be distracted about. So what you're doing is then everything in your mind is playing out. And what do you have to do? You have to learn to deal with it. You have to come to grips with all of your demons. I've done 7 Vipassanas, so for 70 days, I've been there. When I was in India, I did 16 days of silent meditation in Kriya Yoga. I spend a lot of time doing that because that's how I bring out, that's how I accept, that's how I release. I'm a believer that the old masters had great wisdom. Why not use that wisdom? You'll notice I taught you some breathing. If you want to know what type of breathing, in Hindu it's called Bhastika. In today's world, it's this guy Wim Hof is teaching that form of breathing technique. And I'm really all about the breathing. I'm realizing the more you get into the breathing, the more you realize that you have not only control of your mental state, but you have control of oxygenating your body. And oxygenating your body will bring your body back into a state of homeostasis, which allows your body to produce heal. It also releases stress. The more you deep breath in, Tony Robbins will tell you, you get in a stress situation, 10 deep breaths. It's nothing new. He's going back to the masters of thousands of years ago. Coming back, breathing. It's so simple. We keep looking for complex modalities to bring us into the present moment. If you focus on your breathing like we did in meditation, you're in the moment because you're breathing deeper than you can imagine. You're not used to breathing that way. The end result of emotional extremes is extreme emotional dissatisfaction, whether it's extreme happiness or it's extreme sadness. Perfect peace lies not at the extremities of our outer experience, but at a point of calmness midway between them all. That's Paramahansa Yogananda. He's talking about living equanimously as well, being able to look through the third eye, being able to see life in balance at all times. That's work. That's the work we're seeking to do. All the other stuff, until you can see it equanimously, you're owned by the ego. No other way to say that. Objective conditions or events are always neutral. That's a hard one. Everything that happens is neutral until you focus on it and you have a perspective and you have a preference or you have something that you don't want about it and you see that neutral event, you put your slant on it, you put your spices on it, the good spices and the bad spices, and then you eat it and it becomes your experience, and it'll either be sweet or it'll be sour. But you know what's beautiful is when you mix sweet and sour together. See, that's the equanimous state. Ooh, that was brilliant, wasn't it? I just thought of that, and last night I had sweet and sour tofu. Have you ever had sweet and sour tofu? I never have, but I decided I love sweet and sour pork when I used to eat that when Gene and I were first married. I said, God, I have a craving for that. I said, make it out of tofu, because I don't eat meat. And whoa, it was so good. It was just so good. And then we go so neutral. That gives us an emotional charge as to feel happy or sad. It's our reaction that always causes us to feel happy or sad. It's not the event. It's not someone saying something to you. So many times I say something to someone and say, God, you pissed me off. And I look at them and I say, I really didn't. And they get really mad at me because it's not me that pissed them off. It's their interpretation of what I said that pissed them off. Did you get that? I could say something very innocent. Here's a beautiful quote that I got from I went to a conference with all Christian ministers, 1,000 of us gathered, looking at how to do this better. I wanted to get some ideas, and I did. But they said, love is not always kind. Think about that. When we come into new thought, we buy into this image. Oh, it's all roses. I'm good. Everything's beautiful. Let me do my man voice of that. Oh, my life is so perfect. I'm really good. No, it's not. Life is hard. Life is going to present us with a lot of challenges. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to get to a place where it's always going to be easy. It's not. How you look at it, though, will determine how quickly you get through it and whether it owns you or you own it. Most of the time, it owns us. Because we don't take time to back away and say, wait a second, that's my perspective on that. Our work is to realize our inner addictions as to how we think life should be and to fully accept and experience all of life living in a constant state of non-attachment. Think about that. That is one of the most beautiful statements I think I've ever written. I really love that. That's accumulation of a lot of different works that I've observed. I want you to understand there's nothing original in the world. It's all been said before. All you're hearing right now is my slant on it. Does that make sense? And hopefully I'm giving it in a way that maybe you can hear it and maybe you can respond to that. So I want to go in and try to give you an idea of how to live. So I want you to imagine and know that you are an individualization of infinite, which means you are consciousness. You have an individualization of consciousness and you're part of the collective consciousness. So as consciousness, I'm going to assume that I'm going to use this reference as consciousness. So it's outside my body, it's outside my brain. An event comes in. Event happens in front of me. My consciousness absorbs it. It comes into my brain. My brain has the ability of just experiencing it, or it puts it into a preference of the past or the future. I whether like it or I don't like it, and what I end up doing is I anchor that event in my system, and it's stuck there. And now what have I done? I've repressed my emotions. Now that if anything happens that's not the way I like it, I'm really upset. If anything happens the way I like it, I get really attached to it. The idea is what's in front of me, accept it in, let it come down into the mind, let it flow into the heart, feel it. Whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, feel it at all the core of it is, and then let it go. And then what happens then? You're able to be present in the next moment. And so if you're looking at the idea of what you're hearing codependent relationships out there, here's how to have a relationship. When you're with someone, you let the experience in, you feel it at the core of your being, you're so fully present, you're engaged, you're looking into their eyes, you're listening, you allow it to come into you, your heart feels it, absorbs it, and when they're gone, you let it go, and it disappears. And now let's say you're by yourself. You feel that experience, you bring it in, you experience it, and when you're meeting someone else, you let it go. Next person that comes in, you're fully present with them, you're fully experiencing it, you bring it in, you bring it into your heart, you let it go. So what you're doing is you're absorbing infinite experiences out there. You're actually doing what you're meant to do, and that's to experience life in all of its fullness, in all of its happiness, in all of its sadness. You bring it in and you wash it out. And what are you doing when you're doing that? You're actually doing a mental, emotional purge in your system. You're teaching yourself to flow in and flow out, which means you're unblocking all of your energy, and now you're an energy blockage, and you're going to have health. You're going to have wealth. You're going to have relationships because you understand the very essential nature of life. And so when I was with Guruji last night and we were sitting on the side talking, when I was in India the first time with him 3 or 4 years ago, I had just finished learning Sri Vidya and I couldn't sleep. It took an hour. I got an hour's sleep a night because my mind was so going with this new process that I had learned. I couldn't turn it off. And he gave me the Bala mantra. And it was, I'm Kleem Sao, Sao Kleem I'm. And I've taught you that. But I got an insight this week about it because I'm represents the third eye. Kleem represents the heart. Sao represents the root chakra, okay? Think about this. I let the situation come into me. I see it through the divine eyes. It flows down into my heart, Kleem. I experience it fully. Sao, I release it out. Did you hear that? And those sounds are Sanskrit sounds, so they have meaning to the body. There's a vibration about those sounds. So when you're going, I'm, Kleem, Sao, it's the natural movement of releasing and living life. Is that beautiful? And Guruji, when I told him that, he says, ooh, I like that. Because sometimes what we understand is we can learn from each other. And when we learn from each other, we can take it deeper and find ways that we can take our message and get people to feel it. I feel good. Do you feel good? Did anybody text me any messages, questions? I'm going to take a look. Ooh, I do. Come on up. Okay. How is genocide neutral? Good question, isn't it? Does the divine see life and death? No. Because in the divine what? There is no death. Because spiritual energy, consciousness does not die. What does it do? It changes form. Pure and simple. But in our humanness, we see it as awful. But do you get that everything in this world is about helping people raise their consciousness to go to the other level? And so when you think about the greatest genocide that we're aware of was what, World War II? So when that genocide happened, what was the problem then? The consciousness of the world was negative. It was neutral. It didn't give a damn about life. And it allowed that genocide to happen, didn't it? And then it woke up and there was a greater awareness of it. But does that mean genocide ended? No, it didn't end. Go back into the 90s, middle 90s in Africa and see what happened there. There was mass genocide going on. Is there genocide going on right now in Yemen? Oh my God, there's genocide going on. What is that saying? It's saying that the overall consciousness of the world, it's experiencing every aspect. It has not been fixed. We live in the United States where we think every place is like this. Travel to the rest of the world and you'll uncover that it's not like this. And so the contrast is there to awaken us. And sometimes we need something from a human perspective so horrific that it wakes us up at the very core of all we are. And sometimes it takes us time because we're so wrapped up in the illusion. We've been so domesticated to not feel. What is it again, and what did you call it? It's called the Bala, B-A-L-A mantra. Go to my YouTube channel, Lee Wolak, and Google Bala mantra, and it's out there for you. How do you deal when your partner is being passive-aggressive? You take a 2x4. Passive-aggressive is something that I had to really work at because I don't like that. Because if you could tell, I'm not passive-aggressive. I'm right there in your face. But God gave me sons, and my sons have taught me about passive-aggressiveness. I think the key things, if your partner is ready, you have to have an agreement. And the agreement is that we are going to have clear communication. And the communication has to be, and this is what is my number one agreement you have in any relationship? Okay, for those of you who don't know that you're here for the first time, it's ask for what you want when you want it. If you have that agreement, you are not responsible for your partner's thoughts. You are not responsible. They're responsible for asking. Now, just because they ask doesn't mean you have to say yes. You can say no. It's okay to say no, but tell them why or her why. Then there's an understanding that builds up. You see, relationships are all about it's always about communicating more, always about communicating better. You never get perfected at it, trust me. 47 plus years I'm going on in this relationship, I'm always working on trying to communicate clearer. This is not sharing, but sharing from my face person for meditations on Insight Timer, hoping you can share Sarah Blondin, particularly the one called Practice Gentle Kindness Toward Ourselves and Others. So there's a meditation on Insight Timer called Practicing Gentle Kindness Toward Others, and Sarah wanted to share that. Okay? If most of our feelings come from the past experience triggers, how do we recommend we tune in with those unconscious memory bodies so that we can no longer be triggered? First off, great question, you got to identify them. Because once you know what they are, you have an idea of what to focus on. If you don't know what they are, that's where hypnotism will come in. Or maybe shamanic breathing or some other modality like that will bring it up so that you can understand that. A good friend will do that. Having a mentor will do that. I can tell you in the mentor program right now, we're having insight after insight after insight, but it's taken 16 weeks to get to the point where we are. People in the United States, they want a quick fix for everything, and there is no such thing as a quick fix. Everyone who's buying into the quick fix, they come to Agape and they leave because they didn't think they got it quick enough. The fact of the matter is that we change gradually. That's the human experience. And when we can understand that, we realize we are always working toward it. And so the way I do the fix there is I start building an affirmation in my mind, which is the opposite of what I was experiencing, of what I want to experience. And then I remind myself by doing the P word. What's the P word? That's right, some of my people got it. Pause. If you know you're in a situation and you're about to react, you pause and ask the question, what is in my highest interest? I've talked with Darren, I can't tell you how many times on the phone, and when he asked me for my advice, I asked, did you pause before you said that? Oh, you didn't. How's that feeling, big guy? When you don't pause, and I was not a pauser. I was one who just, oh, Jesus, did it get me in trouble? Every aspect of my life, and when I paused, it gives me the chance to say, wait a second, how is this person seeing it? They're seeing it very differently than I'm seeing it. And then, how can I respond where we both win? See, that's a really good question. When I'm responding to a situation, if I'm trying to win, that's my ego. And that's a relationship that's going to lose. But if I'm responding and asking the question, how can we both win? Oh my God, that's a great one. I'm going to end it on that. The other questions that I got, if I didn't answer, I'll text you an answer to it, or I'll bring it up in the talk next week, because I want to honor that. I want to honor your time.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.